Hey guys, James Plessinger, Bassmaster Opens Pro. Just wanted to do my recap of this past weekend's tournament on Lake Norman. It was the second stop of the Bassmaster Eastern Opens. It was a really different tournament for me. You know, a lot of times you can pattern fish and that pattern will stick there. What I did and what threw me is I found a really strong pattern where I could go out every day and catch around 13 pounds. First day of the tournament, couldn't find those larger fish to get me to the 13-pound range. Something had changed. Come to find out, the water level had dropped down and the bigger fish moved out just a little bit. But I still ended up with over 8 pounds the first day, which put me in contention. The second day, thinking that if that was what it was, that those bigger fish would move back up the next day, I'd be alright, and they did. I ended up with almost 13 pounds, had a chance for about 16 pounds, but you know, you always lose a couple or something happens. But overall, I had a really good open tournament, and wanted to go over a couple of things that I used and the techniques that I used just to, you know, let y'all know what all happened there. My main technique was going on the shallowest docks I could find, and the fish seemed to be as shallow as I can get. I think a lot of that had to do with the upcoming bluegill and brim spawn and stuff like that, but they were really shallow, the better fish were. And a lot of guys weren't fishing as shallow as I was. That's what gave me a little confidence that I might be able to do well in this tournament. The number one bait I threw out there was by Missile Baits, and what it is it's called their Crawl Father. And the Crawl Father is a 3.5-inch crawl. It still gives you the crawl type shapes and action of a crawl, but it's still real subtle, so you can almost consider it a finesse bait. And I stayed with one color, and that was Green Pumpkin Flash, which has some blue, some green, some gold, copper in it. But that seemed to be the main bait that I used. Threw it on a 1/0 hook and a 1/16 ounce weight, really finesse. Had to let it just sit there, and after a couple of seconds of dead sticking it, they would swim off with it. That was my go-to bait during this open, and like I said, I had a chance with a couple of big ones that I should have been around that 15-16 pound mark, but just didn't work out. I threw that on the Ducket rod, and I threw that on their 6'8" medium heavy white ice. It was a perfect rod. I could feel them real subtle hits on it, so kudos to Ducket for building that rod. It was a very, you know, subtle bite, and I could feel them on that. Now, one thing I did on every one of my baits this week is I used the Rapid Fishing Solutions hook all. What that did was allow me to take the discs and lock on all my baits. So when I put that on my hook and brought it down and locked it on to my bait, when I made a long skip with that small bait, it didn't slide off the hook. I know we've had experiences where you're throwing Cincos or anything and stuff like that, and you're skipping it, and the bait will go up the shank of the hook. This hook all really helped with that. Saved me a lot of time, saved me a lot of baits. So that Rapid Fishing Solutions hook all played a key part in that. In the morning, I tried to throw, you know, top water as much as I could before the sun come up. I caught one key fish on the Boyd Ducket buzzbait. This buzzbait's available at Profound Outdoors. It's a small, subtle kind of, almost like a finesse buzzbait. It's got a real light wire on it. It doesn't make a whole lot of noise, and sometimes it'll get you a few more bites. On the back of that, instead of a regular trailer hook, I ran a treble hook on the back of it. Those spotted bass down there, a lot of small spotted bass, but those spotted bass, they'd come up and hit it real hard, but they would almost try to injure the bait instead of eat it. And I think that treble hook helped me get them into the boat. And what I did on that is I took that hook off and I put a disc on each side of the hook, and that allowed me to run that treble hook and keep that treble hook out the back with no problem. So that Boyd Ducket buzzbait, that caught me one of my big key fish on the second day. I threw that on a 6'9" medium heavy Ducket Micro Magic. It was a great rod for that. I could really get it underneath of the docks and get that bait to where other people can get a buzz bait. So those two combinations, that was my go-to during the tournament. Now, one way that I found a lot of these fish during the pre-fishing is I took the Boyd Duckett 6-inch BD shad, and what I would do with this big BD shad is I'd swim it down alongside of the docks. It's got a great action for swimming down alongside of the docks, and a lot of those bigger fish, they would come out, they wouldn't commit to it, but they'd show themselves, and I would mark that dock, and I'd come back and I'd fish for them, and that got me some bites right there just following up on that. In practice, I did have a big fish come up and commit to this BD shad. It was pretty cool to watch him come up and commit to it. There was wind that day, and I think that helped him commit. One of the key things about this BD shad is it has a magnet on the bottom of it, and what that magnet does is it keeps that hook back up against the bait, which is a cool deal there because you don't get hung up as much. It changes the action of the bait, and your hookups seem to be better on that. But my keys was find those shallow docks, get as shallow as I could, throw that missile baits. You need to go out there and get some of those crawl fathers. They're 3.5 inch, very subtle. It's still a crawl. You can do everything on it. You can put it as a jig trailer, but to me, skipping it up underneath that dock, I knew if there was a bass there, I was going to get bit. The first day of the tournament, I probably caught 40 or 50 fish. I just never got that one quality bite. The second day, when those fish moved back up, the bigger ones, I was catching them. I knew if I skipped that underneath the dock with that presentation that I was going to get bit if he was there, and it just so happened it did. Like I said, I had almost 13 pounds, which on Lake Norman, this time of the year, post spawn funk, that was really good. And you need to go to Profound Outdoors, check out that buzzbait. It's a very subtle buzzbait. I've done really good on the Tennessee River with it, and it played a big part in catching me my one big fish on the second day. But once that sun came up, straight to that missile baits, and everything I ran in one way or another, whether it was these baits or something else, I had that Rapid Fishing Solutions hook all on there. That makes such a difference on every bait you throw, whether you're putting it on a plastic, whether you're putting it on a jig trailer, whether you're putting it on a spinner bait, on a buzz bait. These Rapid Fishing Solutions hook alls is the deal. I'm telling you, it will help you catch fish. It's going to save you money. You're not going to lose as many plastics. If you're throwing it on a jig, you put 2 of them on a jig and it'll hold your trailer straight out the back. If you're skipping underneath of a dock with a jig or plastic, it keeps that plastic where it's supposed to be. So it's well worth the investment. It's a very cheap price, but it has a lot of payback on it. So guys and girls, hope you enjoyed the video. Try to get out there and catch some of these fish. Try to use some of these techniques. They worked for me. Getting ready for Lake Champlain for the 3rd stop in the Eastern Opens. I think I'm going to have a really good tournament there. I've been there before, and I love that lake. And with some of the things that I'm going to be bringing to Champlain with me, I'm expecting nothing less than 20 pounds a day. So I'll have to see how I do and keep y'all informed. So everybody have a great day. Be safe out on the water. Make sure you wear your PFDs. Check out Rapid Fishing Solutions. Go to Missile Baits. Get some of them crawl fathers. That's a bad little dude right there. And then go check out some of these Boyd Duckett baits. My name's James Plessinger, and you have a great day.